Well, welcome back to the morning show. I'm Biola Alabi.
And I'm Victoria Pepple.
We continue with our discussion with our panelists. Still in the studio is Segun Aka-Bashorun, Adeyemi, Saka, Akin Osuntokun, and Wale Oluwade in Abuja. I'm going to actually go to Wale first. I'm still going to give you an opportunity to answer, but I want to go to Wale first because, Wale, I want you to just jump into the conversation here. And before we went on break, we were talking about PDP candidate and also APC running against that. And what that means for APC now that there might be Atiku as a candidate. What is your take, especially on some of the different things that have been flagged up, which is around the primaries, which you actually brought up and said the primaries have been running very well. You complimented PDP on the primaries, and there's been quite an objection to the way the primaries were conducted. How do you respond to that? Sorry?
Money primaries.
As you've heard again, money primaries. How do you respond to that and contextualize that for us?
Thank you very much. I mean, before answering your question, let me just say, whenever we are invited as public analysts, we should know this is a global platform, and we should try as much as possible to be civil, you know, and decent, you know, in our comments. We should try and speak to the facts, you know, and not whip up sentiments or emotions. Now, specifically, how do delegates in a political party primaries, you know, emerge? There are statutory delegates, members of the National Working Committee, National Executive Committee, elected members in the Senate, in the executive, you know, and then the PDP, I know, also published that some ordinary delegates should pay, you know, can apply to the party, come to the head office, either at the federal, at Abuja, or in the various states, pay the sum, you know, to be a delegate, you know. And a novel thing they did this time was that they did not send those delegates' forms to the states. They were in Abuja, so that there was no godfather, you know, who bought the form en bloc and warehoused it and was giving out as the other guy is saying in Lagos. You know, so he's not right. What he's saying is totally wrong. I am not a member of PDP. I'm not a politician. I'm a public intellectual. I speak to facts. And the facts, you know, belie his claims. His claims are totally outlandish. Secondly, on the issue of money politics, even if you gave a delegate in this PDP primaries $1 million, I can tell you the likelihood of you to have thrown your money down the river is very high. Why? The process in these primaries have been very credible. I noticed that there was a pre-convention accreditation outside the stadium. Now, the list of delegates for each state was drawn up. Now, when they come into the stadium to vote, every state's list, there was open counting. Open counting. They filed up in a line, and they were openly counted in the full glare of the world. And they were given, if there were 95 or 103 per state, they were given that number of ballot papers. Now, they proceed to go and vote. Something I saw that is so unique and novel in these primaries that PDP conducted was that delegates did not vote according to ballot boxes with inscription of states. There were no state inscriptions on the ballot boxes, meaning each delegate from each state was free to cast his or her ballot in any of the boxes.
Okay, now, how do you think this affects...
I mean, I watched...
how do you think this affects
I watched
the perception
Governor
of the people?
and the Rivers delegates. You know, I saw the candidates, the delegates from Rivers State, you know, drop their ballot in all the different boxes. So
okay.
How do you monitor? How do you program a delegate to vote in a certain way?
With this new PDP process, you
and
think
I repeat on this platform that this process is the best I've seen in all my years of monitoring, watching elections in Nigeria.
Okay, thank you so much.
Until I stand to be corrected.
Let's go back to Lagos so that, you know...
let's give Segun an opportunity to...
Yeah,
fix it. Finally. It's amazing what I've been listening to. Oh, there's no need for questioning here, please. Let me just respond.
Yes.
It is amazing. At least I have two of my other colleagues here who have come out of the closet to tell us they are PDP members. Well, he has denied being PDP member. But because he denied and is speaking categorically like he was there, or a member of the PDP, he's speaking, the man in Abuja, speaking categorically. As if, wait, please. At least you came out of the closet here that you're a PDP man. You said you are a public affairs analyst. Wait now.
That you are speaking
Can I
categorically?
respond?
No.
If this is the way you do,
No,
then it shows
No. I don't want us to. I want us to give everyone. Yes.
Are you in PDP? You are
5 months ago, I was in PDP.
Look at it.
Yes.
What is
That does not answer your question.
At all.
I worked for your government in 2015. Wait now. You asked a question. See, I don't play games with playing politics. We shouldn't. I went back to APC 5 months ago to fight injustice. I was invited back. It's nothing shameful about that. I was in APC. I worked with Agbaje. Wait, in PDP, I worked with Agbaje effortlessly. I didn't vote for anybody, or I didn't vote for President Buhari. I cannot hide that. I will never hide that. I'm proud of my position. Now, let me tell you what I found amazing. There is somebody in Abuja, not a member of the party, and speaking categorically like he was there. And you're telling me, and now, at the same time, you're trying to tell me that, oh, this is the best process you've seen. It's sugar-coated. Are you telling me that money is not exchanging hands? Not only in APC and not in PDP, also in my party. We do it. This is the rubbish, consistent rubbish that we all play the ostrich game, as if we don't know what's happening in our country. So are you saying that let's call a spade. Now, PDP, I will tell you, their processes are far better than APC. But it should have been far better than this because they've been in power for 16 years. Okay, let me... Wait. I have to make this thing very clear. The problem we are seeing, the reason why we keep paying money politics delegates, because I'll tell you, all the delegates, they go dancing when they are picked in PDP because they know it's pay time. All the candidates will pay them. We all know here, we shouldn't fool ourselves. Don't fool Nigerians if you want to fool yourselves. We know what our party politics is all about. We should stop it. We are here to see how we can sanitize and improve it. So we shouldn't be playing games with Nigerian lives.
Let's move on to some other things. I'm intrigued with what's going on in the PDP. The presidential ticket has never been so keenly contested before because PDP has consistently been in power for 16 years until recently. Now, let me direct that question to you. What we see now is politicking like we've never seen with the PDP. What do you think the PDP is learning from this? What do you think having 12 candidates, 3 strong ones, does to the party? This new process that the PDP has never seen before, what do you think it does for the party?
Akin, we're going to ask you to...
Well, you know, you are not entirely correct to say that this is the first one that they had in 1999. It was very keen between...
But not as many as 12. It's
not the numbers that matter. Out the 12 you mentioned, there are only about 3 of them who are competitive. But the difference before also was that they had been in office. When you have the president, when you produce the president, it's almost assumed that the president will be the candidate of the party, regardless of the formality of going through primaries. But as the thing about what we are saying is that people are watching it on the TV. I mean, you don't make up people's mind for themselves. When you have an open and transparent process, nobody needs to interpret that for you. You can see what is going on. I asked you about how you came about it. You said it was somebody who was there that gave you the thing. I expect it to be competitive, of course. Anything good should become, you are competing to become the president of Nigeria. So naturally, it should be competitive. And of course, and especially the article that the leading so far, you know, has been at it almost all the time, you know, for the past 3 election cycles. So, I mean, so you can see that, you know, he has the keen, very enthusiastic, he's very, very, you know, it's his life ambition. So you expect that he's going to go all out.
Let me ask you another question. This could be for either one of you, Yemi or Akin. As you see now, if Atiku emerges as the candidate, and if he wins, he has said that he would only serve 1 term. How has that been? I mean, what do you think of that? Why do you think that is important? Why do you think it was important for him to say to the public that he only plans to serve one term?
Zoning. Unless we want to deceive ourselves, zoning, because we, you can confirm or probably dispel if I'm wrong. I think while they were going to form PDP in 1998, it was assumed that power should come to South for 8 years to pacify Southwesterners because of June 12. I mean, they mean South, Southwest. When it comes back to North, any region of the Northern Nigeria. When it comes back to Southern Nigeria, after the 8 years up North, they can decide which region of the South is it going to be Southeast or South-South? So he knows that he's spending 8 years of, because Buhari has spent 4 years. Yeah. You can argue that Buhari is not of PDP, but whether we like it or not, there's a zoning arrangement in Nigeria, unwritten. And I guess it doesn't want to upset that. And because of, what has been through, I think he probably wants to leave on the high. And Atiku serving a term will do his reputation a lot of good. That's my supposition.
Are you surprised that someone like Rabiu Kwankwaso isn't a top candidate with the PDP delegates? With the PDP delegates, the voting and all of that, why isn't he occupying top 3 position?
Well,
he seems to have a large following up north.
Well, just in Kano.
No. You know, the primaries, they're different from national elections. You said it's popular in the north. That means you have answered your question. Because at least, if he's not competitive in the south, that's 17 states, that have delegates. That he has already, his stronghold is in the northwest. Right. And the reason that in terms of competing against Buhari in the northwest, right, it seems to be the most competitive, the strongest of the PDP who can give President Buhari, a run for his money in the northwest. That is his strength, right? But in terms of as I said, that's after he might have gotten the presidential ticket. But he needed to cross that order before you get to that stage, So.
Let me just ask you another question. Now that Atiku has almost emerged, if he emerges, what does PDP now need to do to unify their party and actually face President Buhari if Atiku becomes the candidate? I'm going to go first to Wale in our studios in Abuja to ask that question, but I'm going to ask all of you the same question.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think the major task, at hand for the party and whoever emerges as the candidates of the party going forward, like you said, is to unify, his fellow aspirants, so they would present a common front against the ruling party. Like Mr. Akin Osuntokun rightly said, each of these 12 aspirants have their own unique strengths and weaknesses. Someone like Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso, could diminish whatever APC will get in Kano, likewise in Kaduna and also in Katsina, because his Kwankwansia movement seems to have gained a lot of traction in the last 8 years, when he was governor and even when he was serving at the Senate. So unify the party, come up with, unique selling points, on how to go forward, to confront this so-called monster that is the APC, and also, speaking directly to the issue of maybe baggages that an Atiku candidacy, would carry. I don't think Atiku carries any baggage. It's all about perception. If Atiku, Atiku has been the one who has been most investigated. Under President Obasanjo, he was investigated. The case went right up to the Supreme Court, and nothing was found against him. He could not even be impeached. He could not be impeached. As we speak, no case has ever been established against him in any court of law in Nigeria. So it's all about the campaign, the way the campaign is structured, the way the campaign, is going to be, deployed. So I think it's all about coming together, to present a unified front, and present a solid battle, that lies ahead. Because to unseat this government, this APC government, is not going to be a tea party. I think it's going to be a serious battle, because the security agencies are not neutral, in my own estimation. INEC, I'm not sure, are neutral, in my own estimation. I mean, from the rerun in Osun State, INEC went ahead to declare a winner when the election, that rerun, was characterized by widespread violence.
All right,
the word free, a process is meant to be free.
Yes.
Was the election free in Osun State? No.
Wale, we're going to move back to the studio here in Lagos. And Yemi, I want to ask you the same question. As PDP now gets ready to face President Buhari with most likely Atiku, what do they need to do internal? How does the internal mechanics need to change for them to actually face APC and have a chance?
It doesn't need to change, because a lot of them needs to work hand in hand for their political survival. I can say this to you, I might be proven wrong later in the day, or with the cause of a chain of events, but Abubakar Bukola Saraki is going to go back to the Senate, and it needs the PDP to win for him to still retain the seat as the Senate president. Tambuwa knows it cannot do anything in Sokoto unless PDP is in power. And so everybody has to work on it. And quite so we need the PDP for protection, because trust the APC. Forget about what they say. It's on paper that we know this government. They come at you once they're in opposition. They've shown it. We are not accusing them wrongly. So they need to work together.
Do you think these players will all come together?
Definitely.
and
you see,
rally
their hands
around?
on the trophy. The conquest, the trophy is to get the power. The rest of the power away from the APC, and they will get it if they all work together.
Let me ask the opposition here. All right, so what we discussed.
Of course, I know I'm the opposition here. Either in Abuja or
all right, what we've discussed right now is more about the personalities, who are the key players, who are adjusting for that key position. And in all of this, we talk about the history of the person, where the person has been. Now, we see that a lot of campaigns in Nigeria are not issue-based. Now, we know that on the start of, the primaries in Port Harcourt, the candidates did come out and talk about what they wanted to do for Nigeria. Now, at that time, when you're trying to sway last-minute votes, how much impact do you think that campaign has on the voting process?
They've already who has the biggest pocket when you're doing delegates. I'm not accusing PDP here. It is what transpires in Nigeria. It's nothing new.
So if you say that's what transpires in Nigeria, when honest, we go to the APC...
You see it, it's happening.
Which the form,
I will even confirm to you that our processes is worse.
Okay.
Our process,
but the president didn't have an opposition.
Wait. Yes, he didn't. We're talking about presidential. We're talking about. Can I have my time to talk? Because I've given PDP so much time to talk here. They've been discussing 8 candidates, 12 candidates in PDP. Please, we only have one. I'm the only one here too. So let me speak. Thank you. Now, what I'm saying is this. You see, I studied Atiku. I like him personally. Even I knew Biola borrowed some of his manifesto since the time of June 12. That's when I've been reading about Atiku. I like him as a person. But you see, there are certain individuals that this country has provided and they have benefited for immensely. I don't see why what else they are trying to get from Nigeria or to give back that they haven't already. You see, they should start developing new, younger generation. Except that the fact that it's only them
and
that
they
believe, wait, I will. I know there's always a response. See, they always believe they are the only ones with the answers. I don't have to contest every time. But let us start fighting for how changes can be beneficial to all.
We're taking a step in the right direction with that, haven't we?
No.
Not too young to run?
We are, but we have not. You see, that's where I'm going. You see, the reason why I said I would support President Muhammad Buhari, not because he's APC. No. If he adheres to those things that will make Nigeria a greater nation tomorrow.
But you admitted in the beginning of this panel
that's
that there has been disappointment in this administration. So with that, and going into the fact that there's been disappointment with this administration, when you look at a PDP candidate that might be Atiku, do you believe that there could be a change of direction? Or do we continue with disappointment, like you said?
That's the shock effect that Nigeria is getting used to. Disappointments every time. Talk is cheap.
But
when the issue, no,
but if we say
I want to be
APC
clear. I want to be clear what I'm saying.
Okay.
You see, when APC came and said change, I asked, what specific change? Nobody asked. Nigerians were not interested. They were just saying, say Baba. And that was the danger we all ran into. Now we are in that danger already. A lot of people have, because you allowed so many interests. You didn't define the change. People were defining the change for us. People that came into the party were opportunists and now ran out of the party when the opportunity has evaporated. But what is happening? What I hope that this president would be able to present to Nigerians, for me as a Nigerian personally, to support him. It's not because it's APC, but because he has something to sacrifice, to give back as a parting gift. And what I'm hoping is this. You see, all of the referees, all our institutions where we need umpires and we need referees have never been sanitized in the history of this country. Until we have a president or an individual who says that until the umpires, because you talk about INEC, of course, they're not sanitized. They're not sanitized yet. We know how they behave. Is it the police? Is it the Nigerian? Is it the members of each of those political parties?
So
they are all
saying,
corrupted.
yes.
We are all corrupted. In
but
this
what
country.
you're saying is, also
institutions.
a further indictment on this
On all of us.
administration that they have not done enough to institutionalize and clean these institutions that we're talking about.
This administration is only 3.5 years old. Then you should be directing that shortcoming to the 16 years of a government that said, wait, I will make
this
it.
administration must take responsibility.
You see, I am giving a categorical verdict for all of the political players in the history of our Fourth Republic.
Okay.
Now, in order to also move forward, whether you are PDP or APC, we need to establish a standard by which we can educate who is doing well. And we have not been able to do that as a political party.
Let me go to the PDP.
So
You've been accused 16 years in power and there's still a lot of disappointment. You think that if we judge President Buhari on his accomplishments in 3.5 years, we're being too harsh?
That is different.
Well, you know, when you say that PDP has been in office for 16 years, today, that PDP is about 50 or 60% of APC. So,
can you explain that, sorry?
Well, you know the cross...
Okay, because of all the defection.
Exactly.
I don't even disagree, yeah.
Many of their ministers are from the former governor of Cross Rivers.
Akpabio?
And some of them have gone back and getting returned to... So, it's different to... The thing is, there was an avenue, you know, there was an opportunity for any government, any incoming government, to make a difference in 2015. There are many areas of the challenges, aspects of the country in which you can make an impact. For instance, the most important one, which is the restructuring of the country. That is, you know, to make an arrangement where you have greater decentralization and devolution of power. And the APC, they have it in their manifesto. Now, that is one of the things about this, the APC government. They promise heaven and earth in black and white. They campaign on it, and they have not been able to do anything about it. Since the advent of this government, a lot of people were accusing the Jonathan government of corruption. You know, those are one of the, if not the biggest liabilities that he had. According to the Transparency International, this government is worse in terms of corruption than Jonathan's government. If you look at the ranking of transparency, Nigeria has fallen backwards by 10. The United States annual report came to the same conclusion, and the World Bank. And of course, you know that recently Nigeria has become the poverty capital of the world. Yeah. Nigeria has the highest number of, you know, not to talk about insecurity.
And yesterday also it was published that Nigeria now has more children out of school, from 10 million to 3 million.
Destitution, yeah. Now, we are getting abnormal situations in Nigeria. You are getting normalized. If you pick up the newspapers today, and you read that 20 people have been killed somewhere, you just flip through. That is an indication of how things have gotten worse. You are no longer shocked by those kind of things because it has become the order of the day. And the magnitude at which it is happening. Now, look at even the preparation for this election, right? Look, the president in their primaries, the presidential primaries of APC yesterday, they said Buhari scored 15 million votes.
Yes.
So they're already preparing your mind. How is it possible, you ask yourself, for him to spend? That was the number of votes.
So there was a video in circulation, and the counting was out of this world. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9, 10, 100, 500, 1,000 till they got to 1 million.
That was the number of votes that got him elected in the general election. Now that is what he has scored in the primaries.
It is
so
my
of
party,
course,
and I can categorically confirm that it is true that even my party cannot boast of a database register of our membership.
Okay, let's cross over to Abuja. I want us to cross over to Abuja. I want us to look at another angle. Now, the SDP has drawn up a different candidate. Even though he's been in the political circle, Wale, this question is directed to you. Even though he's been in the political circle for a while, has been governor, now he is a presidential candidate. Do you think this throws in a new dynamics to the political scene in Nigeria? We've always talked about two big parties, the APC and the PDP. Now, there's a new party with a candidate we're well familiar with. How do you think this will play out in the long run? How do you think this affects the dynamics?
Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm aware that former governor of Cross River State, Donald Duke, has emerged the presidential flag bearer for the SDP. Let me tell you straight away, two key factors play when it comes to presidential elections in Nigeria. I mean, to the best of my own knowledge, I might be wrong. Number one, structure. The most critical is structure, political party structure. And the party with the most structure, tentacles spread all over the nook and crannies of Nigeria is the People's Democratic Party. Of course, not an accident, it's the oldest party. And I mean, the fact speaks for itself. Most of those who are playing, key players in the APC today, were former PDP, players. I mean, Albi Ogbe was the former chairman of the PDP. Minister for Transport, Rotimi Amechi, was Speaker of House of Assembly in Rivers State for 8 years. He was governor for PDP for 8 years. I mean, the list is endless. I could go on and on and on. So what am I saying? The party with the most formidable structure, political machine in Nigeria is the PDP. Now, followed by APC. You see, the issue of SDP, ADC, ADP, and all the other 81 or 85 of them, they are only going to emerge as fringe players. I mean, look at what happened in Ekiti. You had parties scoring 1 vote, 10 votes, 20 votes. The same thing repeated itself in Osun State. There is an acute dearth of intellectual rigor when it comes to analyzing issues in Nigeria. When the law on the not too young to run was signed, I mean, I was flipping channels and I could see all sorts of people rejoicing and jubilating. And I couldn't understand where the jubilation was coming from because none of these parties have this structure. You don't have this structure. Secondly, the issue of money. Money plays a key role in winning elections. Because money comes when it comes to logistics.
Are you saying that
so
even
how do you raise the funds? How do you raise money?
I'm not sure you can.
All right, thank you so much. Let's come back to Lagos for a bit.
Okay. So, I mean, just to piggyback on her question, he's saying, I mean, he didn't really answer our question. With SDP coming up with a candidate who is a political player by any means of the imagination, does that make a difference that it is Donald Duke if it was a X, Y, and Z someone that you didn't know? But now that it's Donald Duke, does that make a difference? Is it call attention to a multi-party system rather than a two-party system? What is this? How does this change the conversation around the possibility in elections? Doesn't necessarily mean about winning, but it means about the conversation in our democracy. I'm going to let, should I let Yemi go first?
Okay. Wow,
yeah, because I know you're always going to have an objection. You're going to have an objection.
Must be his body art.
No, but I'll answer that, please, and you allow me to go back to the 16 years misrule of PDP that as alleged. The SDP as a party, all those other parties, is over time will give Nigerians platform to express their political ambitions. They might not get the presidency, And they might if they go into merger with some party. But for now, they don't have the structure and what it takes to produce a president. And that's the truth. Like you said, money. Like you said, structures. When I mean structures, if you want to even to restore a party...
Okay, well, if you say that, let me put something across to you. Is this a stepping stone into something bigger?
Yes.
You start now and then you begin to grow like APGA did.
Yeah. But APGA has not been able to go beyond 2 states.
We're hoping that will change.
They were hoping that will change. So what I'm saying is this. They might be lucky. Maybe at general elections, they have seats at the State House of Assemblies, in some states. They 1 or 2 members of the House of Representatives, or maybe 1 senator. Those guys, if they're committed about the fortunes and the success of the party, they can plunge their resources into building structure for the party. Not that because most times what you find is they just go to these parties. This is as a vehicle to get into office. When they get into office, the former party will now come romancing them. They just go back. They go back home. But if they stick with, okay, this is a new platform. Let's give Nigeria the third force. Another option, alternative. SDP, ANLP, APGA, what have you. But basically, most of this party came into being not because they just want to win the presidency. Or they want to get the presidency. They just want to have a platform for someone to just be the local government chairman. Because somebody is tired of the Yoruba balance, Baba Sokme, and they want to have their own, okay, let me just go to a party. Meanwhile, before you go, before you go, please, let me not correct this. When people say 16 years of PDP misrule, PDP was just at the center. I
didn't say misrule.
No, I know. That's the allegation of APC and what have you. 16 years of bad rule of PDP or what have you. PDP was just at the center. We had AD that was controlling Southwest, then HCN and APC.
One state.
No, at some point, they started off with...
But at the main helm of affairs...
So you cannot really blame...
I have a question.
Because each state had allocation.
Okay. I think it's noted, and I think that, part of the conversation has always been about, let's talk about your report card today rather than the ruling party. And I think that we sometimes get issues mixed up when we keep on going back to the former administration. I think really what we wanted Segun to do was focus on this current administration's record and what they needed to do differently.
Okay, I have a question. Now, something Wale said, talked about the oldest party, PDP, having tentacles everywhere. So a lot of people would see the fight as being between the oldest party and the ruling party. Now, how does that play out? What do we need to know? What are the pros and cons of that kind of...
earlier that this is bringing us back into the multi-party system instead of a 2-party system that we are being forced, that's been forced upon us. If we remember the Osun incident or the Osun election as an example, we had SDP who came third with a sizable number of votes. Sizable, 125,000. In comparison to the parties, 2 major contenders who were 245,000 or 250 or 70,000. So SDP tried for a third party, 125,000 votes. Or was this 175? 125.
Yeah, it was 125.
So it's not impossible. Yes, the issue of structure and money matters a lot. But you see, the only way to get that right was one of such when we had the Nigerian intervention movement. When this movement started, it was this brouhaha and this euphoria that, yes, there's a movement that is gaining steam, that people from all walks of life, from all cronies, far and wide from the nation, wants an intervention in the political system. And that movement can metamorphose into a political party that will have that kind of spread and a common purpose message. But they missed it. And that is what you alluded when you said SDP can start building that now. They shouldn't see it that, they are going to be able to win the presidency right away because they do not have that structure that everybody have said. It's very, very essential, especially for presidential candidacy. Now, going back to
Donald Duke.
Oldest party versus the ruling party.
Yes, and the issue of having, you asked a question about the new candidates, the new...
Yeah, the Donald Duke, does it make a difference now?
It will make a lot of difference because it will make the narratives, what we're going to engage in the discussions, the issues, the ideology behind this political party. I think that Donald Duke is going to force that discourse to come to play so that Nigerians, maybe we may not be able to reach that spread where that thinking, it might be centralized for the South, maybe, but You know, the issue, the political game will have to change. You will need more other players from other parts of the nation to join hands with him where he cannot reach. North, far north, east, depends. So that's what he needs to do. But I don't see it as an overnight success. But I see it as an intrusion that is going to be for good, positive change.
So we're going to begin wrapping up now.
So
we're going to let
Akin, please, can you just confirm to us or assure us that they are candidates to participate in that conversation? Buhari.
Well, I don't, you know, you see, my party, I have, and the question he asked, I think that's the last question I was supposed to answer. You see, I'm not going to deny that our party does not have problems. They have a lot of problems. I am disappointed in a lot of things they are doing, but I have not given up hope because there's a problem in Nigeria. We always take one step forward and two steps backwards. I'm afraid of starting all over again. It's so scary. So my hope is that what is bad, if we have the right patches that will sustain, that can hold, maybe we can still patch up the party, patch up this government, and make this government meaningful and good for the majority of Nigerians. And the only way they can do that is to make sure that the institutions, the Nigerian institutions that were umpires and referees in INEC, in police, in the judiciary, we need to find a government that will stand and tell Nigerians, pledge Nigerians that I will make this my party.
That's your party.
All right.
That's your party.
So, Segun, we have to give you that because you're the only APC on the panel. But we're going to go to Abuja with Wale and let Wale have the last word. Wale, and sort of
my friend,
in wrapping up, and as we go now, and you with Atiku merging, what are your reflections and what is sort of your last word for today as we go into the new week?
Well, I mean, I'm gratified that PDP was able to conduct a free, fair, and credible primaries, so that whoever emerges, you know, I mean, there will be almost no acrimony, there will be no disagreements, you know, as to the outcome, and then the party can come together, you know, and move forward, because what we need to do going forward is for platforms such as Arise and the other news media to begin to organize, I mean, debates. You know, set the templates to ask them questions, interrogate these aspirants. President Buhari, we will not tolerate him sending his VP. He is the one we're voting for. You know, whoever emerges from PDP should come in. Donald Duke should come. And all the other candidates, we should begin to interrogate them. What are your plans? What vision do you have for Nigeria? You know, that is what we should be doing. So the less acrimony we have coming out from these primaries, the better for everybody, because the time is short before February 2019. So we could begin to really put their feet to the fire and ask them, what plans do you have for Nigeria?
We look forward
That's what
to
I think
debates.
we should begin to do going forward.
Thank you so much. We look forward to those debates, and we look forward to having those conversations. Once again, thank you so much for being with us today.